Good evening. Welcome to Community and Technology, where we connect the global community with news, information, and resources that we hope will help improve your life. I'm Stu Reid. Here's my co-host, Dave Burstein. Hey, Dave.
Hey, we got some more stories about deep fakes taking care of business or not taking care of
No,
business.
not or creating havoc is more like it. Yeah. One of those stories hit home right here in Harlem. A deep fake that impersonated former Assemblyman Keith Wright, his voice, saying some disparaging things about another Harlem politician that he didn't say. And apparently, there's an election going on for that seat, and somebody out there is trying to manipulate things. We have no idea who. Uh, um, it's Assemblyman woman Inez Dickens's seat is now up for re-election. She has since decided she's not running again. Keith Wright's son, Jordan is his name, is running for the seat, among others. And so this, I'm not sure where it was posted, Dave, but somehow it got out there, a 10-second audio recording serviced in January, featuring what sounded like Assemblyman, a former Assemblyman, and he's still the current Manhattan Democratic Party boss, Keith Wright.
You calling him a boss?
Huh?
You calling him a boss?
Well, I'm
That
reading.
was a very controversial
I'm
thing to
reading
call
the
it.
story. Yes, he was a Democratic Party boss. Now, not my terminology, but I'm not sure where this story came from. But it's in the press,
I
and
think I got it out of the time, something like that.
he's
Standard.
a former state assemblyman and someone that we have had dealings with back and forth. He's a Harlem guy, Keith Wright, and I'm not even gonna read the quote because it's a lie. He didn't say it. But it's disparaging comments about Inez Dickens, and it was a fake. And Wright is described as saying, "Oh, it hit me like a two by four." He was in shock, and he later went on to call it a technological hit and run. One of the things that came out as folks talked about what happened is there's currently no state or federal law regulating the use of political deepfakes. I find that pretty disconcerting, Dave. I don't know about you, but in an election year, particularly as this technology just gets better and better, no regulation, and where is this going to go?
Well, better and better is our next story.
Mm-hmm.
NVIDIA, that makes most of the 90% of the high-end AI chips in the world, has just released their software to let you build your own chat box. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think there's audio with it yet, but
Mm-hmm.
it certainly could. And what's special about this one is it can run in your PC.
It runs on
So,
your own PC, Dave?
yeah, on your PC or on your iPhone, although they
Mhm.
didn't have
On
them.
your own personal device is the point.
All personal device. It's really easy, real available. And I could put, for example, everything I wrote about technology in the last 25 years, plus my 60,000 or so emails on file, into this stuff
Uh-huh.
and find anything I had there. You want to find out about what the CEO of Verizon promised in 2009? I probably reported it, and I'm sure it contradicts what the CEO is saying now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's what you can do on your machine now. And on your machine now, if you're really good, or you have something like a high end gaming PC and are a teenager who knows how to use it, you can create a fake of the voice of me, you, the assemblyman, the president of the United States, or the mother of Joanna Stern, the Wall Street Journal reporter, who
Mm-hmm.
actually showed how good it was by faking her, having it fake her own voice, and her own mother couldn't tell. difference.
But Dave, I want to go
That's how
back
good it is.
to this NVIDIA chat box that runs on your own PC. So essentially, the algorithm or the AI platform can dig into all your files, all your data on your PC, and come up with answers or responses to whatever you ask it. Is that kind of how it works?
It's a smaller version of the huge thing that everybody's being impressed from on ChatGPT.
Hmm.
And something that I've been writing about, and I think I brought to this show, is that you now can do it with a lot less machine power, a
Hmm.
lot less memory, and you can do most of what you want, including generating fake voices uh, on a high-end gaming PC.
Hmm.
And it's a whole lot of teenagers who have all the skills to do it. I
Hmm.
haven't had occasion to. I assume I could learn. I'm a little old to pick up new tricks, but I think I could probably learn how to do
Yeah,
this
you're
fun.
following this stuff pretty good, Dave, for an old guy. I gotta give you credit. You're bringing a lot of the latest in AI to our audience, and very valuable stuff that you're doing there. So I mean, so Dave, so now it sounds like this technology is going to soon be, if it isn't already, available for regular folks.
It is
For
available right now. That stuff is still in the labs. I see all the papers. But one of the things I saw about a week ago was a fabulous piece of software. I showed it off to Jenny and she couldn't believe it.
Mhm.
Give it a photo of yourself or anybody else you want. The first thing it does, it creates a 3D avatar that can walk around the stage if
Hmm.
you want it. Aaron Sorkin, walking and talking in West Wing. You can do that. At
Hmm.
this point, only with one person. Sorkin did it with two and three, of course, for the TV show. You could do it with two or three if you could. Uh, and the next thing it does is it takes the voice you give it, if you like, give it 30 seconds, and it can reproduce your voice or your mother's or Keith Wright. And this is the thing I hadn't seen so often before, can have you saying it or any of 50 voices they have available. You want to be a British girl or an Indian author or a devout Buddhist who sounds like the Dalai Lama? Absolutely doable, including your mouth moving and your facial gestures that make it look like you're saying it right then and there on
Wow,
video.
that's stunning, Dave. That has gotten down to that level of fine tuning on the fake level or the recreation level, whatever you want to call it, where the lips are now synced with the words and the facial expression. And if I'm not mistaken, for instance, you can have me speaking Russian,
That was where I was going to go next.
and my mouth would
This one
match.
has your choice of 12 languages.
Hmm.
The voice actors are in real trouble.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, they're already doing a lot of the audiobook readings.
Hmm.
Uh, Washington Post has somebody who specializes in reviewing audiobooks and looked at them closely a few months ago
Hmm.
and said, for 5 minutes, it sounded really great. And then as I listened longer, I wish they had had more expression and emotion, and the real voice actors do it better.
Hmm.
But that was a few months ago.
Yeah, and
This
the
stuff in the course of a few
past,
months or a year.
yeah, a month is a year. Yeah.
Okay. Now, do you want to understand where this is going, what's going to happen, what the real dangers are, and what the wonderful things are happening?
I think
Let
that,
me,
yeah, not only do I, but I think our audience wants to know that.
and that's why I wanted to recommend a free event that's happening next week.
Hmm.
My old friend John Borthwick, who's been in the middle of all this stuff for 25 years, uh, runs Beta Works downtown, is an incubator, personally, invested in little things like Twitter along the line, built TweetDeck and is a principal of two of the biggest AI companies that have come up in the last few years, and is a really good, knowledgeable guy that I learn a lot from.
Mm.
When I first started learning this stuff about a year ago, I went down to an event down at his shop, DataWorks, and I said, wow. And it seems to be moving so much, so fast. How is that happening? And he said, it's almost all open source and everybody's working on everything
Mm.
and sharing everything,
Mm.
and it's going to explode. Well, next Friday, Friday afternoon, John Borthwick, my old friend, is speaking at an event. I had it in what I sent to you.
Mm.
What is it called? It's
That,
sponsored by the Bed House.
mm-hmm.
Let me find it. I have it up here.
That's going to be next Friday, February 23rd. This is
Or yeah, or
Dave is looking up an AI event by one of the.
no, it's not an AI event.
Okay, what kind of event is it, Dave?
It's a Tibet House event with people like Deepak Chopra and Robert Thurman and folks like that, called the Great Reflection Summit.
Okay, so it's more of a
That's
spiritual
going from Tuesday to Friday for free.
Mm-hmm.
Great Reflection Summit .org or .com, one or the other. Great Reflection Summit, just Google it and you'll find it. You can register for free. And the reason I'm bringing it to this show is somebody who knows more about, as much about AI as anyone I know,
Mm-hmm.
has been totally involved for years with all the best people, really knowledgeable. As
And,
I say, I've known him for 20 years. His
Deepak
name's
Chopra's
John
going to be
Borthwick.
there as well, David. Deepak Chopra going to be there?
Deepak Chopra is speaking not the same day. Deepak is speaking on Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay.
And it's a whole lot of the kind of people you would expect to be talking at a major event organized by a Tibetan organization and Tibetan Buddhist.
Hmm.
So I don't happen to be very interested in the people explaining how to be a successful medium who are speaking there. I certainly can respect some of what Chopra has been doing, teaching meditation and the like. But the reason I bring it to this show is that Borthwick, who's speaking on Friday, is one of the most knowledgeable people in the world. First about the internet, and now he went whole hog into artificial intelligence a few years ago.
Wow.
And that is the Great Reflection Summit, as in reflect, as in think about things. And it's I'm going to be listening to him. I'll try to get him to come on the radio. He's an old friend.
Okay, that'd be great if we could have him on the show. So that's next Friday. So folks have to Google that to find the location and the date.
Great Reflection Summit. It's .org or .com, and it has a whole lot of people who, if you're interested in Buddhism and that kind of stuff, are well known and respected. Now, why is Robert Thurman famous, beside the fact that he's a professor who's written a great deal about Buddhism?
Don't know.
You should know. He has a daughter named Uma.
Ah, okay.
And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and she actually has been involved with a lot of this stuff as well. But Thurman,
I wanted you to, talk about something maybe a little more light, but still very much along the vein. We're talking about deep fakes, and you're talking about the lip syncing and the facial gestures. Now, AI is also being used as in dating, in online dating. And one of the writers referred to the kind of the where we're headed as a technosexual era that we're entering. And I was fascinated. One of the stories I read that you shared with me was about a couple that got together. One spoke Spanish, the other spoke English, and neither spoke the other one's language. And they used technology and AI to begin to communicate with each other. send each other video posts. And one of the technologies that came that was talked about, what's it called, Dave? It's called I forget the name. We'll find the name. Anyway, what it does is, again, it enables the person to talk in the foreign language, to sync up their lips and facial expressions. So it looks like it's really them talking that language. Captions is the name of the particular app. And the guy didn't speak Spanish, the woman didn't speak English, and they got together and
They had a mutual friend who said, "You're going to like each other."
a friend put them together, and subsequently it looks like they are meeting in person and having some one-on-one interpersonal reactions. They're about to get married, but this AI platform, captions, is what helped make the relationship happen. And
How's
it's
the
kind of fascinating.
relationship going?
What's that?
How is their relationship going?
Yeah, I think the story said they're about to get married. They're engaged. They're going to get married.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this particular AI software, it helped them come together. Two folks, different cultures, different languages, and the software helped them bridge that gap. And you and I are a little older, Dave, so it's hard for me to kind of put my head into a dating framework. But young folks today, and actually this couple was I think in their 40s. They were not kids. The guy was 45 years old, and the woman was 29. So they're not kids, but they're using and have embraced the software to help make their relationship happen. And kind of fascinating.
Did you see what the latest Samsung phone, which also is going to be on a Google phone in the next month or two, is
No,
doing?
no, I know somehow it's integrating AI, but I don't know what that means.
It's doing translation on the fly as you talk on the phone.
Hmm.
Between
Wow.
a dozen languages. And this and a separate story I've been reporting is they now are ready to do translation to over 100 languages.
Wow. So I can
Again, not on a little Samsung phone.
my friend in Puerto Rico speak English, and that what they're going to hear is Spanish.
Absolutely working now
Wow.
on the top of the line Samsung phone that got released a few weeks ago.
Hmm.
And they happen to be using the software from Google, so we know it's going to be on all the Google phones soon too. And I know that Apple has some really great stuff like that coming in the next iPhone.
Wow.
It won't be till September.
Wow.
How much
Well,
time do we
Dan,
have to
let's
right?
hope that some of this software helps bring people together, helps bring cultures together, helps bring individuals and maybe even communities and nations together that normally have, or historically, I should say, have had a hard time talking to each other, understanding each other. Maybe that's one of the hopes for this technology as it evolves.
Well, I certainly hope so.
I know
And
I know
certainly don't
that's an
expect
optimist speaking.
it. I mean, heck, it's only 45 years since I got involved with a group called Computers for Social Change.
Mm-hmm.
It was some very noble people trying to find ways that our new machines could actually make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
10, 20 years later, as the internet came, a whole lot of people thought the internet was going to make the world a much better place. And in some ways it has, but it obviously has not brought peace between the nations.
No, sure has not.
And
Giving
so,
them more tools and more ways to fight and to really go at each other. I
and
guess.
I was ready to do the whole show last week on how the artificial intelligence is being used in Ukraine and Russia
Hmm.
and Gaza and shortly in any other conflict anywhere,
Hmm.
with the US military committed to being the leader.
Hmm.
The Ukraine decided using Starlink from Elon Musk, his other company, Palantir, that was partly funded by the CIA, has actually opened a major office in Ukraine and is using the war there to test all their software and utilities.
Hmm.
And apparently, according to, I think it was the Times again, one of some standard medium said that Google and Facebook are actively cooperating with the Ukrainian government and giving them support.
Wow.
As is, of
You
course,
know,
the United States
it's
attitude.
crazy, Dave. I guess it's probably something that's been in the culture and the societies globally for so long, but it seems like, war is such a driver of technology. The United States became the global technological leader as a result of all their technology built up during World War II. Building up
And what did we
the war
what did we build during World War II?
tanks, airplanes, bombs.
What what kind of bomb did we build
How
during
about,
World
how
War
about
II?
the atomic bomb? How about that one?
We're still the only nation on Earth that has used it
Hmm.
twice, and certainly one of those two was totally unnecessary.
Mhm. Hmm.
A lot of people think that both of them were known to be unnecessary, and others, including Harry Truman, obviously disagreed. But the reason I go to that one is that there is a great movie out there called Oppenheimer. He
Hmm.
was the head of theory on Los Alamos, responsible as much as anybody for the bomb, and has many doubts and many issues, and they are all raised in an absolutely brilliant movie called Oppenheimer that's about to win a pile of Academy Awards.
So you recommend
And
that for our listeners to go check that out, Dave, huh?
yeah, whatever you think about the atomic bomb, it certainly raises the issues. But the other reason is it's probably the best movie ever made about science.
Hmm. Hmm.
The first half of the movie is mostly about Oppenheimer uh, going to England and then to Germany to work with people like Einstein and Niels Bohr and Heisenberg and so on,
Hmm.
and talks about the science just along the way in a way I've almost never heard, uh, with absolute fidelity to everything I knew about the science.
And it's
And
kind
they
of
have,
kind of accessible to non-scientific minds too. But I'm saying I saw the movie too, David. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And although I'm not into the science as deeply as you are, I was able to follow it. And I agree with you. It was fascinating to see how these scientists were grappling with the issues of the day and with the political machine that was driving so much of their work, and the conflicts that they had internally in terms of actually kind of working for the government and bringing their scientific genius, if you will, to the theater of war. It's a fascinating story.
yeah, I've just watched the first half the second time, and there was so much I missed the first time,
Hmm.
including when they introduced Einstein.
Yeah.
Einstein was at the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, and Oppenheimer became the head of the Institute of Advanced Study. And when he first went there, Strauss, who was connected with all of these things and went on to become the head of the US Atomic Energy Commission after World War II, uh, thought he was introducing them to him. And Oppenheimer said, yes, I've known him for a while. And they had worked together. Uh, well, they hadn't worked together, but they had attended and listened to many of the same things in the 1920s and 30s when most of modern physics was invented. Uh, and Strauss said, why didn't you want him to help you in Los Alamos. And this is what I didn't catch the first time. He said, he's a great physicist. And he did really great things 35 years ago. But by the time it got to World War II, Einstein was the old man who had done great things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And many people had gone past. The other thing was, and why I respected it for the science. Did you catch this bit in that movie? Well, actually, I think we have to take a break now.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
come
we,
back.
we're
We'll
running up
come back to the break.
the
Let's
halftime.
put some Frank Forster music back on, since I just sent you some, and I know you like Forster and Basie. And then we'll come back after the break.
Okay. This Community and Technology on WHR 90.3 FM. Dave Burstein and Stu Reid. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after a brief musical break.
Funny Valentine, sweet comic Valentine, you make me smile with my heart. Oh, your looks are laughable, unphotographable, yet you're my favorite work of art. Is your figure less than Greek? Is your mouth a little weak when you open it to speak? Are you smart? Oh, but don't change your hair for me, not if you care for me. Stay, little Valentine, stay. Each day is Valentine's Day. than Greek? Is your mouth a little weak when you open it to speak? Are you smart? Oh, but don't change your hair for me. Not if you care for me. Stay, little Valentine. Stay. Each day is Valentine's. Each day is Valentine's. Each day is Valentine's Day.
Okay, we're back. Community Technology on WHR 90.3 FM. Dave Burstein and Stu Reid. Dave, you wanted us.
Before we get back to the science of the community and the movies and the AI and all that, I want to wish the best of luck to Tina. Her last name is, I think, Dixon.
Tina Dixon. She is our program manager extraordinaire here at WHCR 90.3 FM. She keeps everything moving, everything going. She's having some health challenges, so we're sending out special love. Get well, Tina. We love you madly.
Yep.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's no reason I shouldn't say this because nobody's going to remember it anyway. I don't hide the fact. 3 years ago, I had a cardiac bypass myself. Unfortunately, I'm doing incredibly well. I now bicycle as much as stationary bicycle as much as 30 minutes a day, walk a mile, sometimes 2 miles. Yes. I'm very lucky and I'm doing very well after a bypass. And I mention that to let people know, yes, it often is possible to come back and do really well, despite, as I say, a very serious cardiac operation. Now, let's get back to the movie. Tell me why you like the movie about Oppenheimer, and then I'll tell you a few.
Well, I am a bit of a science buff, and I can't pretend to understand all the mathematics, but just watching how these guys were immersed in math and how they were able to translate the math to the real world and make things happen, albeit something as devastating and horrific as the atomic bomb, but how they were able to hypothesize this stuff. And, one of the things that, I felt during the movie, they didn't know what was going to happen, Dave. They didn't know whether or not it was going to cause some crazy chain reaction. There was people saying it was going to cause a chain reaction that could end the planet. They didn't really know.
Oh, you mean like artificial intelligence is going to wind up with super intelligence?
Yeah.
That's going to decide they don't need us and to heck with the human beings, or maybe keep us around and treat us like we treat dogs?
Yes, so
probably won't happen.
They were hypothesizing all this stuff, and they didn't know. And they're using numbers and theories and theorems, and also the fact that it was an international effort, that you had these mathematical minds from all over the planet coming together. I guess, again, like you're saying, much like what's happening with AI today, as an open source endeavor. You had all these minds back then, back in this is in mid 40s, early mid 40s, working on this mathematical equations and problems to bring the so-called bomb into fruition. And they had never, started a nuclear reaction. It was the first time, and
Well,
didn't know what was going to happen, and just some of the anxiety and the drama behind that happening. It was fascinating to me.
yeah. Let me give some of the history in there. As I say, they really. I'm into history and I'm into science, and the 1920s and 30s is when modern physics happened. Little bit after the war,
Hmm.
the eighth-fold paths and so on, and the subatomic particles. But the big breakthroughs happened starting with Einstein and relativity in 1905, and then in the 1920s with Niels Bohr and
Hmm.
Heisenberg and Wolfgang Pauli and so on. And they had people playing all these. And I. Rabi, who was here at Columbia, who I actually saw it, listened to. I didn't get to talk to him, but he was still at Columbia when I got to Columbia. And he looked very different in the movie. When I met him, he was a very small old man.
Hmm.
In the movie, he was robust and, well, a little bit corpulent.
Hmm. Well,
And I'm
that happens with aging, Dave. We know something about that.
uh, Asian. But everything that was there, I mean, I knew a lot of the names of the people that put, all right. I even like knew what they got their Nobel Prize
Hmm.
for example, and it was all right on. But the most remarkable moment, did you see what he said just as they were getting towards the war? In 38, before the war, you had people like Leo Szilard and other folks discovering that you could create a chain reaction. The movie had Ernest Lawrence, who was almost literally the next office over from Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer did the theory. Lawrence built the cyclotrons, which proved the theory or disproved what Lawrence was thinking sometimes, what Oppenheimer was thinking sometimes, and they showed that. And we're getting to, as the war happens, and Heisenberg was one of the great physicists there. Did you see what the movie said Oppenheimer said about Heisenberg?
No, I can't say that I recall, Dave. What did he say?
Again, this is the stuff I'm into, so I
Hmm.
really noticed it. Uh, he said he was very worried because the very best of us, like Werner Heisenberg, was still in Germany.
Ah, hmm.
And that was why the United States had to throw everything they had
Hmm.
at coming up with the bomb first, because the guys who made the atomic bomb in the US said, the folks even smarter than we are in Germany.
Mm.
And that was just a throwaway. I'm not surprised you missed it. It just went by in passing. But it turns out one of the great disputes in the history of science is why the Germans didn't come up with the bomb.
Hmm.
And there's two possible explanations. One is they just got it wrong,
Hmm.
because the 20% of the US defense budget had to be devoted to Los Alamos and Oak Ridge and so on to make that bomb. It was an
Wow,
incredible commitment
that's a
by
big number.
Franklin Roosevelt.
Hmm. In the
Uh,
midst of the war.
in the
Hmm.
midst of war,
Hmm.
that he diverted funds, massive funds, billions of dollars, and billions of dollars in those days is more than it was today,
Hmm.
uh, to make that bomb. Partly because the scientists were very afraid the Germans were going to get there first. And it may be that they just got some things wrong. It was hard, or it may be Hitler. Nobody explained to Hitler, as literally Albert Einstein explained to Franklin Roosevelt, how dangerous this was and how important it was and what the possibilities were. But there are also some people who think that Heisenberg and his friends, who were in charge of the German project, decided they didn't want to build the bomb for the Nazis.
Hmm. Interesting.
And People who respected Heisenberg said that was so. The actual historical evidence is very substantial but totally unclear.
Mm-hmm.
Right after the war, they brought the German atomic scientist to a facility, I think it was a luxury hotel in England, and bugged everything for 2 months as they debriefed the scientists. And the question, and some people think that the proof is there that the German scientists decided not to build the bomb because they will build it to Nazis, and others say the exact opposite. And that wasn't discussed in the movie. As I say, it was just a throwaway scene of that Heisenberg. But that was the level of understanding that the movie had, and of course, it is a brilliantly acted and directed movie.
Yeah.
And the guy who's famous for making Batman and
Oh,
a
really?
few other.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Yeah.
He did the great Batman.
Mm-hmm.
The and I've lost my train of thought. Oh yes, one of the reasons the movie was so accurate, not why it was so brilliant, but why it was so accurate, is it was based on a book by Kai Bird, and I forget the name of his co-author, who spent a number of years researching everything, and that's where it all came from. A lot of the quotes are out of the book. I just read Kai Bird's autobiography. He he was 6 years old, living in East Jerusalem in 1956. His father was a U.S. diplomat. He spent much of the next 15 years in the Middle East, including Saudi Arabia, and back to Israel and Palestine. And that was what he grew up around. And he saw what was happening there. And he wrote the book. He said, I haven't had anything particularly interesting I've done. But I was like Zelig. I was there. And in fact, when he was 20 or so, when Black September did the aircraft hijackings, one of the people in one of those planes was his first love and the greatest love of his life, he explained. Although
Wow.
later he met somebody else and is still married to her 50 years. 50
So
years.
he's the author of the book that the movie is based on.
Yes. And this is a community and technology show, not the place for us to argue about the Palestine and the Israeli thing.
No.
But I was amazed by some of the things he saw and he knew. And he went back as he became a journalist and wrote about these things and discovered about what was happening in Israel and Palestine in the 1950s and 60s. That is so familiar to what we're seeing today that, well, I don't need to editorialize. Let me simply say,
you know what? Yeah.
Kai Bird saw many things that happened in 1956 that very much explain what's going on today.
Okay. We should leave that one there, Dave. I mean, technology has always played an incredible role in warfare, going back probably hundreds, if not thousands, of years, and today is no different. It's just accelerated. But what else is going on in the world of tech, Dave?
Yeah, let me bring up a few tech stories that are worth knowing. Okay, first, we may have the first confirmed fatality due to the problems with Tesla's autopilot. This story just broke today in the Washington Post. A fellow who worked for Tesla, running on autopilot, went right off the road.
Wow. I read that story, Dave. One, I was kind of bummed out that somebody would be on a windy, twisty country road, is how this was described, and would give that up to the car, to the autopilot. I mean, autopilot on a interstate highway where you're going straight, okay, but a windy, twisty country road. I mean, to me, you're asking for disaster. That doesn't excuse the system, but I was a little bit surprised that he did that. Now, maybe it had to do with the fact that he worked for the company, Dave, and the story said
Well,
that
maybe it works so well, just as the AI stuff usually works so well, that
Mhm.
you start to trust it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's part of the problem with the AI, because among other things, the AI, they call it hallucinations, but it's simply mistakes. And
Hmm.
the best AI in the world still makes a lot of mistakes.
And in this particular
Period.
instance, the car ran smack into a tree and caught on fire, did it not?
And so on and so forth. And the answer from Tesla and from Google and Waymo and from everybody who believes in the cars is that, well, they're going to be much safer than human drivers. We kill 40,000 people a year. That's an enormous number, frightening
Mm-hmm.
number. Uh, but, and Tesla even had some data on it. And Tesla claimed its data showed that the Tesla autopilot was safer than the average human driver. It may or may not be true, but the Tesla data was totally inappropriate and didn't prove very much.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was comparing Teslas mostly running on the highways, which are much safer,
Right.
compared with drivers overall, that some of whom were in the streets of San Francisco and
Mm-hmm.
others were in winding roads in the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know. The people who actually are making the auto AI stuff are very aware of this issue. They're confident that if it's not already safer than human drivers, it soon will be. And they're probably right. But they're also sure that even if it may be statistically safer, people are not going to accept that.
Mm-hmm.
That so long as people are dying on autopilots, they're not going to trust the AI. And that's the way people think, and that's certainly true. And that's how the people actually building the AI photos. I
Yeah.
mean, right now you have a few hundred cars, Google Waymo, going through the streets of San Francisco. It had one minor accident recently,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not going around killing people, uh, unlike, say, the GM Cruise car, or in this case, the Tesla. Uh, AI is not perfect.
Yeah.
It's very far from perfect.
And
Okay.
if you or your family or somebody is killed with that, it's not really much solace to hear. Oh well, humans kill more people than the machines do. That's not. There's no solace in that.
Okay. Next bit. We talked about before how NVIDIA has now got its chatbot out there.
Hmm.
Definitely can do live translation on the phone from Samsung, soon from Google, and definitely really remarkable things coming in September from Apple on the iPhone. And I know that because, among other things, there's a whole lot of hackers out there who are already putting some of this stuff on iPhones. That's because they've gotten much out. Next story, medical. Two medical stories.
Okay, we only got about 3 minutes, Dave. So let's
And that's why I have to be really quick.
yeah, let's
One
make
of them is that they've got another kind of weight loss drug that are called azelapride that is in a phase 2 trial.
it.
Serious people, including two big drug companies, just invested $100 million to finance the trials to get it to market. The
Wow.
weight loss spikes are coming. Second, pending FDA approval is something that may or may not be, probably won't be a breakthrough, but is important. It's a drug called CAR-XT. It's a muscarine agonist. And the reason why it's particularly interesting, again, it's not yet approved, but it's finished phase 3 trials, is that it's a new kind of drug in a new class working against schizophrenia.
Mm-hmm.
There hasn't been a new drug against schizophrenia in decades. And obviously, what we have is often not working very well.
Okay.
And with that, I guess it may be time to quote time, and we'll try to have some interesting stories for you next week.
Yeah. I'll say it one day.
Tina, get better.
Yeah, get better, Tina. And belated happy birthday to Angela Harden, our general manager here at WHCR FM. I think her birthday was last week. Happy birthday, Angela.
And she just turned 39, we know.
Yeah. Okay. This has been Community Technology on WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem. Every Wednesday, 5 to 6 p.m. Tune in. You just might learn something. Thanks and good night.